Hello everyone, my name is Roshan. It's a lovely morning and today I'm going to make a video about why mechanical pencils are overall objectively better than wood pencils and why I personally prefer them. A lot of people prefer these over these for various reasons, various different reasons. Everybody has a different reason, but I'm going to discuss why I personally like them. First of all, we're going to talk about what a wood pencil is. So let's start from there. Then we'll compare how a mechanical pencil is better than a wood pencil. But first, we should talk about what a wood pencil is. A wood pencil essentially is a lead core, is a graphite core sandwiched between two pieces of wood. So why is that important? It's important because it's not practical to write with this. It's not practical, it's not ergonomic, it doesn't make sense. Because this essentially is quite delicate. You can break this easily, and this is not a nice writing experience as compared to this. When you sandwich this piece of graphite between two pieces of wood and give it a nice shape, now it's easy to hold, it's substantial. And if you use a nice enough wood like cedar or other sort of high quality wood, something like cedar or something like maple, you get a nice smell, nice experience overall, a very nostalgic feel, and you can write. You can sharpen this. This is a pencil sharpener. You can sharpen it, and this goes. A normal pencil goes from here to here after you put it through the sharpening process, right? So that's that. That's a wood pencil essentially. But what's the problem? What's my problem with it? It is a nice, very rough sort of sketch I've made. I will made this to illustrate that these pieces are wood and this is the graphite core, right? This is essentially a pencil. But there are a couple of pencils I have, the couple of problems I have with this sort of wood pencil and why I don't use them anymore. I'm gonna do this in some sections, so let's start with the first section. The first section is, why do people prefer these? Why do people like these? People like these because these have been around for ages. These have been around for ages and they just feel nice. They're just something we're all familiar with. These are generally cheap. High quality pencils are obviously expensive, like Blackwing, Palomino pencils and various other expensive sort of premium brands. But if you want to buy something cheap, you can just buy Amazon Essentials box, and you get a pack of 50 or 100 for something like $20 or $15. I'm not sure, but it's very cheap. So price is not a problem. These are everywhere. You can just use them. You can almost everybody has a pencil and a sharpener. I don't know a single person in this world that doesn't have a pencil or a sharpener in their house. So why people like them is essentially because some woods they're made out of, they smell nice. They're nice, overall nice pencils, and you can't complain. They're just there. You don't need a pencil that much, and you just use it to write, and that's it. You just sharpen it, and you just write with it, and that's all. So here's some of the reasons why some people don't like them, and I don't prefer these personally. First reason is, if I compare this pencil, this short this pencil that's at the end of its life, to a pencil like this which is new, or something like this which is new, is that this is almost 25% of the actual pencil it used to be, and I can't write with it because this is an ergonomic nightmare. I can try to write, but this is not, I can't hold it. I can hold this pencil, right? I can write very nicely with it and whatever I want to write, but this is kind of tricky. So almost 25. So I am gonna end up throwing this away. I know there are some pencil holders and you can use those handles. I don't prefer them. I don't like them. You can try that. But this is essentially going to waste, which is, if this pencil cost me $1, which it didn't, but I'm just giving an example. If this pencil cost me $1, this is essentially 20 to 25 cents going to waste, right? On top of that, the whole job of the piece of wood, which is encasing this nice piece of graphite, is to keep this graphite safe and give me a nice ergonomic feel. That's all. So essentially the wood is also going, all of the wood, all of this pencil's wood is going to waste, because when I sharpen this, the wood is going to go to waste. And I know it's not a huge concern, pencil industry is not a huge consumption market, so I'm not trying to be some sort of a tree hugger, but it's still something that's going to waste, which we can avoid, right? Because technologies have changed. So the wood is going to waste, this 20 to 25% graphite core is going to waste. What else? These are two reasons, but this is not the biggest reason. The other reason, one of the bigger ones, I have for not preferring these over these kinds of these kind of mechanical pencils is that we're not, whenever this pencil is sharpened, any pencil is sharpened, for example, we'll take an example of this. We're not using this whole lead, right? With this is this black, the whole black part is the graphite core, right? So what I'm trying to say is we're not using this, we're not using the whole part. We're only using the tip of it, right? We're essentially using the tip part. So what happens to the rest of it? When it gets dull, and it gets dull very quickly, when it gets dull, we need to sharpen it. And when we sharpen it, we essentially lose this much lead. And we get a sharp point here. But then we write with this sharp point, and then we have a dull point again, and then we need to sharpen it again. And so what ends up happening is we only use this blue part. We only end up using this blue part, which is around 50% of the lead, roughly give or take 40-60. And we end up wasting this black part of the graphite core. Wasting some wood is not a big deal in some people's eyes, and maybe even wasting this 20% of the pencil in the end is not, throwing it away is not, may not be a concern of some. But these are things that I am concerned about myself, because I don't like to waste 20% of my money on something I'm not using. And not even just the wood, but also like 50% of the lead of the graphite core I'm not using. So I'll give you an example by sharpening one of these, right? So this is a blunt graphite core, and this is usually how you would do it. You'll just sharpen it, right? And while you're sharpening it to a sharp point, now we've got a sharp point, right? And it will write beautifully and very thin and all of that good stuff. But along with the word, look at how much graphite core we wasted just to sharpen this. That's the point I'm trying to prove. We are only using the blue part of it, the sharp part. We are wasting the rest of it. I personally don't feel fantastic about that, and I'm not the only one. So these are the three biggest drawbacks of using a wood pencil, and they cost a lot of money if you buy the nice ones, and if you prefer the nice ones, which is fine. If they do their work, they don't get wasted, but they do get wasted. So what's the alternative, you might ask? And I'll say that's a very good question. Here's an alternative to this kind of wood pencil, and that is, this is not a great alternative, but it's an alternative, which is a plastic, sort of body mechanical pencil with a graphite core that's as thick as the graphite core in this pencil. Or this pencil, or whatever wood pencil you pick up, it's going to be the same thickness, because this is 2.0 millimeter. Some pencils come in 2.2 millimeters, but that's just fine. That's not here or not there. So you can pick this up, and so essentially what happens is you buy a lead core every single time, and you buy a pack of these, and you don't waste your money on this. So you buy this, and you can use it till the end, because you can use it till the end, and then you can replace this nice piece of graphite, and then you can keep going on, because this doesn't get short. You don't need to sharpen the wood, so you're not wasting that. You're almost using everything you're spending your money on, and you can sharpen this with a sharpener. And yes, now we come into the same territory that we are wasting that piece of lead, this black piece of lead, graphite core. But what these pencils are great for is shading, because one of the biggest reasons why people don't, especially artists, don't use these is they say these can't shade, while these can shade very well. Let me give this example, right? So these can be used for shading, but something that's this thin cannot be. But that's where this kind of pencil comes in, right? This thicker lead, this thicker graphite core helps you shade very nicely. And there are even some lead holders which can hold graphite cores that are as thick as this pencil, right? So that's great for artists. That's why I keep this around, just for shading. But for writing, you're not wasting anything here. This is a perfect example of a good writing tool. You are wasting some graphite here, but you're not wasting a lot of it. If you're using this just for shading. I don't prefer this. I need to be honest here, I don't prefer this pencil. I just bought it for the experience and I used it for a couple of days, and now this sits in my supplies drawer. I don't use it that much, right? What I do use is this 0.5 millimeter, and I have a lot of other 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencils. I use these a lot for writing. So what happens is, you can, when you're not encasing the piece of graphite inside two pieces of wood, you can essentially go with a thinner lead, which solves the problem. And that problem is even if we forget about wasting anything, I'll have to keep sharpening this pencil after every 2 to 3 minutes while writing. And that's just not great. I don't like making a mess. As you can already see, I just don't prefer it. I just don't like it. I prefer to write with something that I don't need to sharpen. So that can either be a ballpoint or a gel pen or a fountain pen or something like this. This is a mechanical pencil. And so I can write and write and write and write, and this is gonna keep giving me that nice sharp piece of graphite, because it's not even this blue part, right? The graphite core that's inside this is so thin that it's not even this blue part. It's even thinner than that. So even if that gets blunt, it's not gonna go very blunt, which these ones can go very blunt. And these ones can go very blunt to make a fair point. So what's the comparison, right? Here's a comparison. Let me make you a comparison. I just want you to see, or just try to understand what a huge difference there is between a lead core or a graphite core that's used in a normal pencil, right? And then something that's standard. And there are a lot of lead sizes between these: 0.7 millimeter, 0.9 millimeter, 1.0 millimeter, 1.1 millimeter, and even above that. So it's not the thinnest, it's just very good lead size. You can use a 0.7 if you fear this is gonna break. This doesn't break that easily. This is even thinner. This is 0.3 millimeter. This puts a very fine impression on paper. And this breaks easily. This broke very easily, as you just saw, but that's not a huge deal if you know which lead to get. This one puts a very fine line on the paper as well, compared to, let's say, something like this. When it gets blunt, when it gets dull, this wouldn't put a thick line on paper. This is a thin line on paper. This will put a very thick line on paper, whereas this wouldn't. You can just see the comparison, right? You can just see for yourself. So, and you'd say the plastic doesn't feel that great in hand, and wood does. So that's the next point I'm going to address. The plastic does not feel very good in the hand. It depends on the quality of plastic, of course, and the shape of the pencil. You can get something that's hexagonal, just like a regular pencil. You can get something that's thicker, something that's thinner. That's the benefit of these kinds of pencils, that you have a piece of lead, essentially piece of graphite core, and you can just put it into anything that will accept it, right? So you can make pencils, and people do make, there are companies that make pencils with, for example, this is a metal mechanical pencils, right? There's a brass clutch, this is made of metal, this is made of metal, and so here you go, there's the core, right? This is made of metal, this whole thing is made of metal, this is a core, this clutch is made of metal, this is plastic, but you get my idea. And even you get a nice clip to put it inside your pocket so it doesn't fall off. So that's very nice to carry as an ETC, right? There are other pencils which are made of more nicer plastics, and that's great as well. Some pencils are made of wood, just like I just showed you. This piece, this holder, this sleeve is made of wood to give you that nice feeling of wood, holding a piece of wood. Auto makes a nice one, and the internals are just mechanical, and you can just keep replacing the pieces of graphite cores, and that's fantastic. Some companies make these not in this shape. Obviously, there are all kinds of shapes for mechanical pencils. Some companies make them in titanium, some make them in stainless steel, some make them in brass, some may even make them in copper. So depending on the price point, depending on what you want, there are very nice pencils out there. You just need to spend money once and then just keep buying these leads, which are very cheap actually. They're very, very cheap as compared to, for example, a 3B pencil. That's going to be very expensive, right? But if you want to buy a graphite core that's 3B in softness, you can buy that for very cheap. You can buy a pack of 12 or a pack of 20 for $2 to $3. That's quite a lot compared to buying a pencil for 70 to 80 cents or even $2 to $3. I'm not going to quote specific examples, but you can look at Mars lomographs, and among other ones. So that was my whole point. I hope this video was short. I know it wasn't, but this was my 7th try or something. I don't remember exactly. And I'll see you in the next one. If you liked what I had to say, you can subscribe and like this video, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. Goodbye.